Assalamualaikum Dr. Dawati. So my name is Muhammad Fitri bin Masyail and my number is 224512. Today I'm going to present to you my lab2 network programming. So for the first task, it asks to me to show the public IP address of my machine. So if we want the public IP address, we just simply type this command curl if config.me, and then it will directly give the IP address of my machine. And then for the second task, it's asked to create the IP address for the variable named ADDR4, and this is the host using the interface IP address. And then this is the variable for the network IP address. So basically, we just typing the variable ADDR4, and then we enter the IP address, and the argument only involve the IP address of that we want. And then if we want to see what IP address inside this variable, we can simply type the variable name in our PyCharm, and then it will show our IP address. And then if we want to create the host IP address, we need to use this command, this syntax ip.ip underscore interface, and then the argument is our IP address, and then the argument is our IP address, and then its prefix of our IP address. And then if we want to recall back, we can simply call the variable, and then as you can see, it showed that IPv4 interface 192.0.2.1 with our prefix argument. If we call back the address, it will set IPv4 address. For the host, it will set IPv4 interface. And then for the network, same, but the argument is but the syntax is ip.ip simplified to the network. And then the argument is the IP address, and then the prefix of our IP address. And then if we want to recall back, so it will simply recall the IPv4 network, which is specific for the network IP address. So that's all from the second task. So for the third task, this is manipulating of the IP address, and we can see the property of our IP address. So we move to the 2.6 part. And then first of all, we need to create back the object, because we another console. Create the object back, and then we can see the version of the IP address is 4, and then the property of the IP address, whether this is private or public IP address, so it's set to. And then this whether IP address is a loopback, so false. And then if we want to see back the IP address and to make sure this property is for the IP address, we can recall back the variable and then see the IP address value. And then if we want to see the IP address only, we can simply type the string address. But even is type of string, but we can manipulate by plus or minus our IP address. So because the Python console, it's treat our IP address basically as a string and also as a integer. So that's why we can plus minus our IP address. And then we move to the third part, which is is the interface part. So just same like previous, we need to create the object, and then the syntax of the interface and the argument must be the IP address and the prefix of our IP address. And then if you want to see, we can recall back the variable. And then if you want to see the net mask we can see the net mask by the function of the net mask, and it show that the net mask of our IP address, the host mask with net mask, and we can also see the prefix length of our IP address with the function of .bit prefix length. So I think that's all. And then we move to the fourth part, which is the network part. So in the network part, we have so this is the syntax to create the IP address for network, and the argument is the network IP address and the prefix. So as usual, we can see the type of the variable, which is it's for network or not. And then we can see the broadcast address, and then if we want to know the number of addressing that we can have in the network, we can use this function, and then it show that 256 is mean that it includes the host mask and the broadcast. Actually, the address that the address that we can have is 256 minus 2 for the host mask and the broadcast. In total, we have 256 address in the network. So, and then we can see the prefix length is 24 that we simplify from the previous argument. And then we move on to the network programming part. So I will explain briefly about the coding. So actually this is the class C address 192.0.2.0, and then from this part we can ask the user to input the prefix that they want in the IP address. So the prefix length must be 24 till 30, and then from the prefix it change the prefix into the integer value, and then it check whether the prefix in the range. So if the prefix exceed the range that we simplify from the previous code, so it will raise the exception. The prefix length must be between 24 and 30, because if the user choose the 31, it does not have the net mask for the IP address, because the range are too small. The range of the IP address is too small. So and then install the network address, and then from the IP address, this is the net address plus the prefix. It means that the IP address slash the prefix value that the user enter from previous part, and then after that it can create the network address with the prefix value. And this is the, and then this code will give description or information about the network address, the subnet mask, and then the broadcast address. And then if the prefix less than 30, it will calculate, or it will show us the largest subnet information. And then this is the user input, whether the user want to continue at the prefix length or not. So I try to run this code. Open the terminal, and then just type the file name, Python IP planner.py. And then this code can run. It asks for me to enter the prefix length 24, and then it will directly calculate the network address, the subnet mask, the broadcast address, and the largest subnet information. So as you can see, the important part of this code that it will only create the network address if we have the IP address, and then if we have the IP address and the prefix that we enter at the beginning of the code. And then from that, it will create the host address, and then from the host address together, the value of the host address, it will move to the network address to create the network address from our IP address. So, and then this code asks whether we want to continue, and then we can also manipulate this code. If we want to the other class, like IP address from the class A, B, and C, we can ask this code. We can ask the user to input the value of the IP address, and then the prefix of the IP address, so that it will directly calculate the network address, subnet, the broadcast, and then the other information of the IP address that the the user enter. Okay, I think that's all for me. Thank you.